Okay, quick upkeep. So I've had quite a bit of editing to do and editing my tags. So hopefully that will go well. And I know I've been saying this for a while, but I still haven't had a new mic yet. Just had some minor financial setbacks, so it will have to wait. And you'll have to listen to this annoying ass, crackly ass mic. Anyways, let's talk a bit about spirits. And should you work with spirits? The quick answer is, well, it depends what spirits you're working with, the reason you're working for them, and your paradigm. So we essentially have two models of, I guess, paradigms or whatever you call it for spirit working. One, you have the spirit model, which essentially states that spirits are indeed very real. They are their own entities, and you can call upon them, work with them, whatever. And that since they're kind of already here and they're already doing stuff and people are working with them, you might as well work with them too. Then there is, of course, the psychological model, which states that spirits are simply just egregores, servitors, probably not even servitors, just egregores, and perhaps God forms that simply people have put energy into, and therefore they have sort of an effect in the real world. This kind of harkens to the law of attraction, although not really, given that you could say that spirits are the product of brainwaves and mental energy, and that somehow transforms into a spirit. And then you have the parapsychological model, which is a bit complex, but there's two ways you can look at it. In the parapsychological model, you can have one way of looking at it where essentially your mind will sort of dictate how spirits interact with you. So that's almost like a spirit model, anyways. And then there is the idea spirits are the product of the mind and that spirits are real. In the case of servitors, for instance, servitors are usually produced by, a single person or maybe even a group of people, but they're not really like a collective spirit per se. And then you sort of have the divine mind, where spirits are created by the divine and have a link to the divine. And so, therefore, you could just say that spirits are more into the spirit paradigm. Anyways, I know I'm being a bit incoherent in this because this is kind of just something I thought about and I wanted to get it out before I forget. So, now let's talk about what spirits you work with. So, there's generally, you could break down spirits into celestial, terrestrial, and then somewhat infernal. I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty on that, but celestial spirits are more to do with the higher realms, whereas terrestrial spirits are to do with more the lowly realms. And there are ranks of spirits. So some spirits will outrank others. And if, say, for instance, you have an unruly spirit, you can call upon a stronger and higher ranking spirit to sort of quell that unruly spirit or kind of just bring them under control. And in the worst case scenario, just kind of kick their asses out of your life or whatever space you're in. There's that. Some spirits have very, very specific ways that you should call upon them and work with them. A good example would be goetic spirits. Of course, with a lot of spirits, you do have to keep up with offerings and you will have to keep up with contracts should you make a contract or a pact. Not much you can really do about that. So the best course of action would be to call upon a spirit in which you know you can acquire the offerings or to even have them beforehand. And then there are some spirits in which you could say have certain offices of duty or certain specialties, and you should not call upon a spirit with sort of a conflicting specialty. Then there's sort of the issue of whether spirits work for the greater good or are more selfish, and they sort of have their own interests. So some spirits tend to have, you could say, destructive interests. Some of them care more about the greater good, and some of them value fairness, some of them value justice, some value beauty, so on and so forth. There's that. And I think that'll be about it for part one of this video series. I will probably do a part two when I can get my thoughts together and hopefully have some money to buy a better mic. And I think that'll be about it for now. So peace out and take care. Okay, so one thing I did forget to mention, and I'm not going to put this in a separate video, would be devotionals. Devotionals are kind of like offerings, but it's more just of recognizing the presence of the spirit and sort of giving that spirit kind of the respect that it deserves for helping you or just for kind of being there. So, for instance, this could be you lighting a candle that corresponds with the spirit, burning incense, using oils, effigies, so on and so forth. And I think that'll be finally it. It's kind of weird how I decided to add something right after I finish, but such is such.